All right. Are you able to see the screen all right, my man? All right, cool. Good to hear. Good to hear, man. I'm gonna wait a couple minutes, wait for some people to get on in here, and we'll get going. But oh, gotcha. No worries. Sorry about that. I'm gonna wait a minute or two to get going here. But you're the first one in here, obviously. So if you have anything right off the bat you want to check out, this is your first time in here, so I'll kind of fill you in. They're primarily member-led sessions, so it's mainly just an hour of that. It's just an hour of time that the analysts dedicate to helping out people where we aren't pressured by time constraints during the day. So you guys can ask to look at charts, you can ask just general concepts, we can go over play reviews, all sorts of stuff. So it's just an hour of dedicated time for the analysts to help out the members. So um, if you have anything you want to look at, any charts, any questions, go ahead and just shoot them. First come, first serve. So today on the SPX put, looking at the 5 minute of that time, you took puts because the candle locked or looked in direction of the sellers and the candle you cut, it was because it failed a lower low. So, okay. So this morning, right, first thing we want to do is we want to understand that we're still very much in a downtrend, right? So sentiment on the day, whatever you're looking at, should still be focused on downside. Granted, the day before we did input a, you know, very nice kind of reversal effort sort of day where we explored a new low, but buyers ended up showing up with aggression to save that close. So that was a positive, and that was definitely a reason why risk to reward may have favored calls today, right? But bigger picture, we were still very much in a downtrend. Looking intraday, right, we make that V, and that high of day from yesterday ended up being the top of our range. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just highlight the range that was explored pre-market, right? And so I would say it was about this 25 level down to about oh 05. Okay, so about oh 05 right there. Okay, so you can see this is the very clear range that we've established overnight. And we had JPOW speaking today, so there was reason to believe that it was going to be an anticipation session, right? Where we're not going to see much decisive action on either side and maybe some choppy action. And that was true for the most part. For the beginning half of the day, it was very indecisive. You saw us dip into the lows, we rejected the high, we came back into the lows again, all before we ended up breaking out. Um, However, I use volume profile a lot when making intraday decisions. I'm popping that up on the chart right now. Give me just one moment. Boom, should be up there. So basically, all this blue stuff you see is nothing more than volume reorganized by price instead of by time. Okay. And so this is going to give you areas of focus such as fair value, the daily point of control where the most volume has been done, and those are very respected areas, right? Because price seeks out volume or liquidity. Before this, so you have to think this morning, none of this was up here, right? None of this was here, and all of the volume had been done between 25 and 05. Okay, so it's a little bit hard to kind of imagine that, right? Working backwards, but we have to kind of imagine it for now because we took our shorts right here, okay? And once we broke out, we were clearly wrong. We had exited the range, and this shelf had not been created yet, right? So this morning, the biggest volume shelf was right here at 23. Okay, so this 23 area was essential. This is the level that we were shorting against, right? We saw that price had come into these pivot areas, and I actually, right, because this shelf hadn't fully developed yet, I was just playing the range. We call that playing the risk to reward game, right? So when you're clearly in a range, the easiest thing to do is just short the top of the range and place longs on the bottom of the range, right? If you're in voice chat with us or in intraday, you might hear us say that, right? We're just playing the risk to reward game where you're not super confident in a breakout, so you just take advantage of the existing range, okay? So we came up into this area. We had a pivot here just under 30. We had another one here at 27 and another one here at 28. Okay, so this 27 to 30 area, I'll highlight it again. This 27 to 30 area, this is the spot that we were looking to grab shorts, right? And we took our entry on this first candle here, and it worked. For the most part, we were right. We saw decision making begin to take place. We didn't break higher for another 30 minutes. Okay. So we were holding confident and there was nothing wrong with it. This was, if you were going to short at all today, this was the spot to do it. And I don't regret taking that entry at all, even though it ended up being a loss. So you can see we hit this spot and we immediately started to kind of dance for 30 minutes. But every time we dipped into that 23 spot, we we weren't able to dip under it, right? Buyers were consistently showing up at this 23 level where volume began to stack. And so typically when you see volume build at the top of a range or value being built at the top of the range, it's typically a good indication that we're getting ready to exit that range. And so I should have known that. I definitely should have seen that while we were in the trade. But I'll be honest, I more wanted to see it through because I was under the impression that we would see a choppy day because of Jay Powell alone. Even though his speech had, nothing to do with current conditions or rates or anything like that, I was under the impression that we would kind of have a range day. So I was off in this assessment. And, as soon as we closed out, right, as soon as we broke over 30, that's when we stopped out, right? So we entered here, we risked at 27, we dealt with about 30 minutes of decision making, and eventually they did stop us out, cracking over 30. And honestly, again, it's a loss, but I don't regret taking this play. I entered at the best possible spot for risk to reward based on the previous action, and we stopped out as soon as we knew we were wrong. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with this. Losses are gonna happen to everyone. Okay, I just got a bad read on the day, and I at this point in the day, right where we entered, it was a great setup. But 30 minutes later, before the big breakout candle, I should have known, okay, they're building value at the top of the range and we're seeing price acceptance. That would have been a great chance for me to acknowledge, okay, we're wrong. I should probably get out. But then if it never breaks your stop loss and it ends up working, then you beat yourself up for, getting out when there was nothing wrong with the play yet. Okay, so I'm happy I stuck it through and, we cut it right when we needed to. So again, it was a good risk to reward setup. We were shorting the top of the established range, and we were right in the sense that that is an area where we started to see decision making happening. It's proven by this 30 minutes of chop at the high of day, right? But in the end, buyers ended up winning, and we continued with the bounce that started yesterday. Okay. Um, so let me see. So you took puts because the candle looked in the direction of the sellers and the candle you cut it was because it failed a lower low. Essentially, I mean, Um, some of the things that I trade on is I try to avoid indicators. Okay, like stuff that does not have to do with volume, in my opinion, is a worthless indicator, right? RSI, um, RSI, MACD, moving averages, they're lagging indicators and they're not giving you immediate action. They're very susceptible to be fooled by changes in volume. Whereas certain indicators that do have to do with volume are extremely useful and they adapt to those changes in volume, which we've seen over the last week as VIX has spiked like crazy, right? VIX jumped from 13 all the way to 19, which made action a lot faster, and those lagging indicators would not have helped you. So some of the ones that are very helpful, volume profile, right? I can't trade without it. Um, VWAP. VWAP is essential as well. VWAP is believe it or not, sometimes it's not even because of its purpose that it's helpful. It's because okay, there's a million other traders in the world right now that have VWAP on their chart. So if they're all looking at the same price, it's gonna get respect. Okay. So sometimes, in trading, you don't want to be the one guy thinking outside the box, right? Unless you're Michael Burry and you've done extensive DD to figure out, oh, the housing market's going to collapse. You don't really want to be the guy thinking outside the box. You want to figure out what the crowd is doing. Okay. So sometimes certain indicators can be helpful. Like I'm sure sometimes when MACD is, or RSI is showing that something's extremely overbought, yeah, you might start to see a little bit of reaction because a million people are looking at it, but I can promise you it's for a different reason, right? Um, and then the third thing is just price action, right? Price action is not gonna change regardless of volume, regardless of order flow. Price action is not going to change. Price action, if you can read how, it sounds very elementary and it is, but understanding kind of candlestick patterns, it helps a lot, right? Because that's decision making happening real time, right? You can see what levels are getting respect, you can see where price acceptance is occurring, you can see when volatility is picking up. um, so understanding price action is essential, right? Um, and more often than not, say if we had just waited a little bit, right? Say if we had waited to not just short this, because this was a straight up green candle when we hopped in. We didn't know that this was going to wick immediately, right? We kind of just placed our risk on where we had seen short step in before, okay? But had we waited maybe 30 minutes and we saw this action right here, where we saw them, reject this and hold down, this honestly would have been a much more confident short because we would have seen, okay, this is an area where sellers have been present before and they're still present, and we're seeing, indecisive action where the continuation failed. It ended up not working, all thanks to that 32 level where, our point of control was. But at the end of the day, sometimes just reading into that price action and letting a level sit for a minute and watching the action take place on it can give you a little bit more of a confident entry. Um, but yeah, I don't want to linger on this too much. But again, I do not regret taking the entry at all, despite it being a loss. We played it to the best of our ability, right? We waited for the risk to reward to be in our favor, and we had a very clean small stop loss. It might not have seemed so small because of the contracts we were playing, right? SPX same days. If you take a loss, it's probably going to be a decent sized loss anyways, just because it's SPX. But we entered at 27 and we stopped out at 30. Okay, we risked 3 points. And the only reason our contracts were even down that much is because we spent 30 minutes flat. When you spend 30 minutes doing nothing, SPX contracts are going to take a ton of theta decay. And, we can call that a number of things. You can call it theta decay, you can call it IV crushed, you can call it just, a volume crush. You can call it any number of things, but they all mean the same thing. So, yeah, if we had waited, till maybe if we had entered at the exact same spot, but 15 or 20 minutes later, it would have been a smaller loss just because we wouldn't have had to sit through all that time decay, and we still would have gotten the same exact price. We still would have entered at 27. So yeah, I mean, again, I don't want to linger on it, but um, those are the reasons why I took that play and why I believe it didn't end up working out. What's going on, Anon? What's going on, Ace? Hope you guys are having a good night. If you guys have anything at all you guys want to check out, just throw them out there. You can tag me in the chat or just talk. These are discussions, not lectures. So you guys are more than welcome to chime in and ask to look at a chart, go over a play, or ask a general question. But I was just letting HSV know that these are primarily member-led sessions. I'm mostly talking to you, Ace. I haven't seen you in here before, so just filling you in. You guys got anything you guys want to look at? Costco. Costco's a fun one. It's in my planned place for tomorrow. Okay, so Costco starting from the bigger picture, right? So it had earnings. What was that? Wednesday night? No, Tuesday night it had earnings. Wednesday, it was an odd reaction, right? Because big money sold it off, but once retail got their hands on it, they bought it right back. Um, so it shows a weird intent there, but if we're just looking at it from the bigger picture, let me turn some of these off real quick. We just got extra noise going on. So it's very clear this 565 level is the point of, contention here, right? This is the spot where if we look at, say, an hourly, the first time they got up here, they danced with it a little bit, kind of acted as a support, but previously rejection, intraday here, no hourly close here, and then two more daily taps of it, right? And then of course we got back here, we tried it once, didn't close over, same thing the next day, pushed over, couldn't close it, intraday rejection here, and then big fake breakout here. And then of course, where did they struggle when we got that earnings, right? Each pop over 565 got rejected here and we closed weak. But considering the positive sentiment, are you looking for a play review or are you just looking kind of where to go from here on it? Okay, so today we finally closed strong over 565, right? But one thing I do want to point out is we fake broke over 70 and we continue to hit our head on it 4 times after that today. Okay, so 570 is your level to beat. Okay, and I do think that with the sentiment that this thing has, and then also in culmination with the fact that ES closed a nice green day today and is likely shifting sentiment, right? VIX is in the middle of a retreat, so positive sentiment is coming back, even if it may only last a couple days or so. The trend is flipping back to bullish on the general market, right? So that's positive. And then on top of that, you've got Costco that just reported I'll be honest, I haven't even looked into the earnings report. All I know is that the market reacted positively to it. Okay? So that's all that matters. Okay? So there's positive sentiment surrounding Costco, and they do have a fundamental catalyst that warrants an increase in price. Okay? So you can combine that with the positive market sentiment. There's no reason this thing shouldn't be able to continue higher now that it's solidified a close over its point of contention for the last 3 months. Okay, so today we saw 570 act as that clean resistance. It might look like shorts are the way to go here, but notice how every rejection got bought up fast, right? Like they weren't willing to let this thing slip. In fact, the number of times that we contested 570 is more in favor of the bulls. They like this price and they're building price acceptance up here. Okay, so coming into tomorrow, we don't need to overcomplicate it. If you see strength over 570, it's worth taking a day trade on, right? And your targets would be this 572, this 572 pivot, and then I'd probably zoom out to try and see if there's anything major. It looks like the next point of interest would probably be as high as 580, right? I wouldn't go swinging for the moon and just bag hold the contracts all the way up there because there's still a good chance it won't get all the way up there. But The targets I listed in my planned play, I said 572, 575, just because it's a psych level, it'll probably get respect, and then 580. So I like it. Again, it's in the planned plays. I more than likely will end up looking at this thing and trying to get an entry on it tomorrow. But we just gotta wait for the criteria we're looking for to be offered. So if we get over 570 and we see strong volume still present, yeah, we'll be all over this thing. We'll probably play the 570 contracts. They're nice and cheap and they've got great volume. It's clean. It's very clean. It looks confident. So it doesn't really need to be much more complicated than that. We don't need to break out volume profile here since it's breaking out of a range. Um, we don't need to do any of that. We can just use a clean level here, right? So just 570 is our go. And like I said, the levels I would pick, or the contracts I would pick, would be these 570s because they're still really cheap and they'll be in the money, right? I wouldn't go with the 575s just because if you don't get there, you're still going to be fighting time decay all day, whereas these will slowly build intrinsic value the higher we go. Okay? So 575s with or 570s with strength over 570 is the plan I would approach this with tomorrow. The only thing you want to see is market continue to be strong as well. If we gap down super fat tomorrow, I would just avoid playing longs, just like normal, right? You want to stick with the trend. The trend is your friend. So if by some weird means PCE data comes in super bearish and we see market have another down 1% day or gap down 40 points, you're probably not going to want to focus on Costco longs despite the positive catalyst, right? You'll probably want to look for other short opportunities. So the main thing is you just want to see market continue to stay strong as well. And then you should be good to go. I would imagine Costco has plenty of room higher. I'll be honest, Costco's a bit of a slow mover, so if you wanted to even play it safe, I would say like these monthly contracts, like you grab these 580s or these 590s and just give it time. If you just give it like a week or two, I'm sure we could see as high as like 585 if we just give it, a number of days. I'm talking from this perspective of a lotto day trade, only looking for a couple bucks higher, right? I just realized too, this 565 level also lines up with this last pivot from uh 08. Also lines up with the last pivot high that we made, right? It's perfect. It's not really important, but that's pretty much why this level got so much respect. What was this high? This high was 64.75. Not exact, but it's right there. All right. Yeah, I like Costco, man. I hope it gives us an opportunity to play it. What's going on, Ish? How's your night going?
Good, how about you?
Doing good. I saw your profits post, man. Was that real money or paper?
Nice paper.
Ah, it's okay. Green's green. You're learning.
Good. Starting out there kind of at this earning strategy and options. Kind of manage risk better with them as well.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie, when I saw that profits post, I was convinced it was real money, and I was like stoked for you. I still am stoked, but you know, you're getting there. I know it. What's it called? What are the accounts called? How many funded accounts do you have now?
Just one.
Just the one? I thought your plan was to get like 10 of them and copy trade them all at the same time.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Okay, I got you. All right. You got anything you want to look at, man?
Absolutely.
Not particularly. Not yet. We'll cover that near the end of the session, okay? All right. I love the turnout for tonight. Humby, Ark, nice you guys to join us. You guys have anything you want to check out? Or just general questions? You don't have to look at a chart. You guys can just ask. Uh, you know, regular stuff.
Has he?
Hezzy. He's adopted the nickname. All right.
Let's go.
Okay, so Tesla's kind of interesting here. It is still very much range bound over the last uh um what was I saying? Sorry. Um okay, so it's still very much range bound, right? It has not reached its pivot low and it's still a long way from its pivot high. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere here. But right, we've established somewhat of a shorter term range, right? I would argue that kind of stuck between 47.5 and the lows are a little bit tricky, but we definitely have a reversal ceiling here. Okay, so I'll mark off this spot that I'm focused on. It's right about here, and it looks like we're working over it after hours, so that's positive. Um, if this thing I would kind of say is on the same track as the rest of tech, right? It got beat up over the last week, and coming into the next couple days, if we're expecting some market positivity, this thing can sure as hell work on a reversal with the rest of the market. So this is the level that I would play off of. I wanna pull up the volume chart because it was important here, and there was a planned play I sent out the other day that was focused on it. Um, yes, it's still there. Okay, so over the last month, you can very clearly see the volume shelf, right? It's right here at 243. This is where our volume taper is, and our upper taper. You can argue it's 270, or you can even argue it's about 275. But regardless, we're at the bottom, right? We dipped under, and we weren't ready for a continuation into the liquidity gap. Okay, so now we're still well within the shelf, and I'd even argue we're still very much at the bottom of the shelf. And if you look closely, it's not super clear, but if you notice, there's a bit of a liquidity gap here, right? From 250 up to 255. So if I were looking at this and I was thinking, okay, we dipped under the liquidity gap, we're back within the shelf, okay, all that and market positive or market sentiment is flipping positive as well, I would definitely be looking to capitalize on upside here, okay? As much as I hate to say that as, a bear, um, trust me, I'm not a bear. It's just this until this year and into next year, I'm a bear. Okay, but this is the area I'd be focused on. Okay, 247.5, and we already topped out there today, so it looks super clean, and we built value at the top, similarly to what ES did, right? I would just look for strength over this guy, and I'd be targeting 250 and then 254 to 255. Feels very confident, right? And Tesla is a fun day trading name, dude. It gives quality moves and it's got a great ADR, right? Just today on a small day, it moved $7, right? So I like it. I don't really think there's too much here to really be tripping about. I'm just trying to double check it and make sure I'm not missing anything. Yeah, and it looks like this 250 area, it's a major psych level. It gets respected. These couple days, they kind of went back and forth right through it, but definitely got respected here. It looks like we even kind of pivoted close to it the other day. Yeah, I think, again, just to be safe, I'd probably grab next week's contracts, but if we see market is super strong tomorrow, why not play it for a lotto setup? Is there something specific you were going to do? Yeah, of course. Is there something specific you were looking to do with it, or were you just looking for my input, or are you already positioned? What's up?
Um, let's see. I'm looking at it all. My time with the game playing recently, so just wanting for that.
Gotcha. Yeah, man. It looks solid. And I like today's close, right? Because it kind of confirmed that level I was looking at here too with this 47.5. Yeah, it's solid. I think it's good. Shit, you know what? I'm a little upset I already sent out my Outlook because I kind of want to post this as a planned play. It looks really good. Yeah, that's a good one, man. I'll have my eyes on this with you tomorrow. Let me actually set my alert really quick. Okay. All right. All right. Humby, my man, how's your day going? Oh wait, I was just talking to you.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know why I thought I was talking to Ark. My bad, man. I feel so bad. I have mistaken you multiple times in the past like week, haven't I?
Yeah. No worries.
Don't take don't take it personal, bro.
North Carolina. So
Oh yeah?
adjusted.
Is that a different time zone from where you're from?
No, I used to live from Florida, so it's just weather. It's crazy different. So,
Oh, I bet. I bet. Did you buy a house?
yeah, man. It's on a law school here, so
Congrats, man. Well, I know you're just counting down the days to refi, huh?
yeah.
Yeah, I feel that. Well, shit. This is probably the one time I'd actually recommend someone sign an adjustable rate mortgage, you know?
Mm,
But anyways, congrats, man. Just chime in if you got anything else you want to say, bro.
sure. How's the ground?
Yeah. Ark, how's your night going, man? You got anything you want to look up? Ark, you around? All right. Well, if no one has anything they want to check out, I'd love to go over a setup that I'm watching for tomorrow. This FedEx setup really caught my eye, and it's not a name I typically trade very often. But you can see bigger picture, it's coming up right into that volume taper. It's really perfect. If I extend this out to the left, um, let me just drop this out about a year. Oh, it looks like we need 2 years. You can see it lines up with that volume taper very clean. Okay, right? It's right at the top of this shelf here, where we spent most of the volume over the last 3 years. Um, all that, right? And you can very easily make the argument that following its recent earnings, which it had a positive reaction to, okay, we were in the middle of a very, very steady but steep downtrend. Um, we got a positive reaction, and the first spot we reacted off of was this 268 level, okay? Ever since then, 260 has been an absolute floor. And I wish I had seen it sooner because when you see this type of buying, right, when you just see any dip under 260 just immediately bought, right? Like this one lasted maybe 20 minutes before it immediately bounced. This one, it was an absolute floor. They didn't even want to get it under 260. Um, but this, super strong. They love 260. They have definitely found a value up here. And then it's crystal clear. This 268 area has been the point of contention where sellers have kind of been holding it down. Well, today we closed really strong, similar to most names. We managed to hold it up here and still close pretty good. Um, and we haven't really seen an earnings follow through yet. Okay, so this is one that I'm definitely keeping an eye on. If market sentiment is strong, we're just looking for strength over this 268 area. And we'll be targeting this 270 to 271, the pivot highs, of course. And then from there, we're hoping for an extension. So what I did to kind of pick out my targets, um, typically I don't use this a whole lot, but I just threw on some fib extensions. Right, we did 268 down to about 260 flat, and we picked out that 270 level. Of course, that makes sense. But from there, we've got 273 and then 275, which would be a nice clean 5 point breakout, or 7 points from our break level. But it would be a clean extension through the highs. So yeah, that's how I picked my targets, and this is one that I'm very, very much interested in tomorrow. In fact, I think I like this a little bit more than Costco. But um, does anyone have any comments? Anything they'd like to know about this setup? I'm happy to go in depth. Come on, guys, don't get sleepy on me now. We've still got 25 minutes left. Nothing.
Dang, everyone's so quiet.
That's what I'm saying. You guys are all here. What are you just staring at the chart? Shout it out. Shout it out. Otherwise, I'm just gonna look around to see if there's anything I missed. Kind of want to check in on how VIX closed. Okay, I'm gonna extend this out a couple days. update the VIX chart real quick, you know. Anything else of importance? What else do we got? So FNGU, I know people have been focused on that. This guy got a big pop today. So FNGU represents the, I believe, top 4 or 6 biggest names in the NASDAQ. So where this thing goes is typically where the NASDAQ goes. In intraday, it can be pretty helpful if you're trading names such as Meta, Nvidia, Apple, Tesla, Amazon, Google, those guys. What else we got? You guys want to see something real funny? This is the VIX 1D chart, and they made this after uh, SPY daily options became available every day. And this thing's hilarious. Every morning it gaps down, and recently it's kind of been showing you something just because we've been selling pretty hard and natural volume has increased, right? The opening point has increased, especially today, which is really weird. But yeah, this thing just looks like a bunch of, sea worms, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a very odd chart, but very rarely does this thing actually have a red day, and I'm still trying to decipher what happens on these red days. In fact, we might be able to dive into that now. I'm interested. Okay, so go fix 1D. Sorry, you guys are going through a in-person study session. Been doing this shit since been trading options since 2018, and I'm still trying to learn. Okay, you never know it all. I promise you. All right. So on the red days, this was June 14th. What happened June 14th? June 14th was a doji day. Interesting. So looks like we sold the open, feed it back, and then closed relatively flat. So this was the sell the open, and then the buy back that crushed volume. And what happened on that doesn't look interesting. What happened on 726? 726 was a nothing day. Nothing in particular. We gapped down, and then we gapped down, sold the open, and then kind of topped out. Very interesting. Very interesting. This is tough, dude. I'm not seeing anything unique. 825. What happened to 825? Okay, big sell-off day, bought back into the close. Yeah, this is useless. I don't know what the hell this chart does. Okay. Alright, alright. No one's thought of anything they want to look at? How about you, HSV? Any questions arise during all this chat? Damn, I know it's max only like 8:30 where you guys are at. Come on, you can't be that sleepy. No one wants to know what JPOW talked about?
That was what today?
Yeah, it was just some teacher conference. They do this like yearly, you know. Everyone was hyping it up, and even I was a little bit. But basically, they do this symposium once a year where they basically just meet up with a bunch of teachers and they host this session that just kind of explains what the Fed does and, talks about, you know, what their goals are and the employment opportunities in the Fed. And so it's interesting, but he didn't talk about rates or, inflation or anything like that, so it wasn't going to move markets.
Mm.
But I'll be honest, I just saw on the Fed calendar. Let me see. So on the Fed calendar, it literally just said, um, it said Fed Chairman Powell speaks. So I thought it was just a regular speech. I thought he was going to be addressing something. Not the case.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I should have looked into it a little bit deeper before hyping it up in my outlooks for the whole week. Um, but yeah, I tuned in today at 1, and I listened to the first like 10 minutes, and I was like, "Oh, this is dumb. You know, this isn't gonna move. This isn't gonna move markets."
Is there anything going on tomorrow?
Yeah, we've got PCE data, so that is a big one. That is a big one. Um, it's personal consumption expenditures, and that one typically is what the Fed uses primarily as their read of inflation. So that could definitely trip us up a little bit. And looking at futures now, we're already kind of selling it a little bit. You know, not much. We're still just kind of towards those pivot lows near the end of the day. But um, that report comes out an hour before open. So with the weight of a report like this, it comes out once a month, just like CPI and all that fun stuff. So with the report like this, that comes out an hour before close, most of the move in the initial knee-jerk reaction will happen before we can get our hands on it with options. Unless you're trading futures, we just kind of have to deal with it. And thank God, Huji and Cobain have been, focused more on futures. And if you're in voice chat, I hope you guys are capitalizing with them because futures are very difficult to alert, and that's why you guys haven't been getting those alerts. So if you're interested in trading futures, voice chat is the place to be. And I know for a fact that Hoosier and Cobain, they also trade futures at night. So if you guys want to, you guys can tag them in chat at any time and be like, hey, if you're trading tonight, let's hop in voice chat. And I guarantee you they'll be willing to hop in and you guys can take more trades if you just can't get enough regular trading hours. Okay? So that's completely up to you guys. I'm sure they're more than happy to. But they're very difficult to alert. They're very quick and it sometimes the trims are difficult to mention as well and typing up all that stuff it's very difficult. So I don't blame them for not alerting it. But for the niche of this group being primarily options, the bulk of the move is going to be made before open. And we're just going to have to look to see if there's any chance of follow through or if we sold off too much and we're looking for a bounce or whatever the case may be. But yeah, the primary move will most likely be made before open. So um, if you want to watch the move, have your eyes on the charts. An hour before open comes out at 8:30 PST.
Yeah.
Um, but other than that, yeah, that's all we got for the week. I'm looking at the schedule now. We've got trade balance, we've got advanced retail inventories, and business barometer and consumer sentiment. Okay, consumer sentiment's interesting because like sometimes it'll have a reaction, and that's 30 minutes into the day. So sometimes consumer sentiment gets a reaction, sometimes it doesn't. It's kind of annoying in that way. Um, but I personally wouldn't expect it to have an impact. I think PCE reaction will be the bulk of what we see happen. It's actually interesting though. With volatility so high, this is like a very slow sell off after hours, but like it's 15 points. 2 weeks ago, you'd be hard pressed to see an after hours move cover 15 points in only 2 hours. But shit, I love volatility, man. I am so happy that VIX is back up again. Even if it's already going to retreat back under 15, I'm happy we had this, week long period of fun. But anyways, it seems like the session's kind of dying down here a little bit. If you guys have any questions, just shout them out. But otherwise, I feel like if you guys are ready, we can call it. I feel like we covered a lot of good stuff. And by the way, these sessions are recorded. I know both you, Ark, and Humby, you guys showed up kind of in the middle of the session, but Cobain has got the YouTube page up, and we will be uploading the videos tonight. Okay, and text him right now in the chat, tag him, and be like, "Where are the YouTube videos?" Just to make sure he sticks to his word, because he told me we're uploading them tonight. Okay, so if you guys missed the last couple sessions, they will be posted on our YouTube by tomorrow. And you guys can review those, watch them on your own time, and life is good. Okay?
Man, it's fire.
Oh, yeah, man. All right, well, I think we'll wrap up here. Shout out to you guys for showing up. And even though the sessions will be recorded, please continue to show up, because otherwise we won't have anything to record. So You guys have a great rest of your night. Let's have a great Friday and close the week off strong. And again, thank you guys for showing up and taking advantage of it.
I said this. Thank you.
Hell yeah. All right. You guys have a good rest of your night. I'll catch you guys tomorrow.
Alright, man.
Deuces.
That's
Yeah, hey, your mic is doing something awful.
just a comment.
I hang on. No, it's awful. It's making a dreadful noise. Hello?